Welcome back to my channel Celebuzz. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. The assault's devastation has taken a toll on my psychological well-being. Why, when Cassie was most at risk in her legal dispute with Diddy, did 50 Cent just appear as her unanticipated ally? A man without any direct, no strong connection to the lawsuit, Cassie, and formerly thought seen just a simple provocateur on Diddy's periphery orbit. What caused him to change from a teasing onlooker enters the carrier of crucial proof. Is this just a rivalry between two of hip-hop's titans? Or does a secret hand, a covert connection between 50 Cent and Cassie plan this maneuver? And why at 50 does Quincy enter the fray as Cent does? The son of Kim Porter smiles subtly as their gazes meet. The assertion is, something from the intelligence, report by an attorney. There comes a time when it kind of becomes combative. Was it just a brief feeling or the suggestion of a secret long-brewing deal? How does that? What does a quick look mean? Is 50 Cent also actually the primary factor influencing Diddy's destiny? Or does he simply act as a pawn in a painstakingly planned game? Come with us. If we follow every hint leading to this tale as more than simply Diddy and Cassie, it's on the true cause behind 50 Cent's decision to come forward as a surprise observer at the trial. And more importantly, who is the mastermind tugging the strings in the back, this mysterious curtain? The outdoor air, the federal courthouse in Manhattan today. Tension flared as crowds of spectators flocked to see the newest twist in Sean Diddy's trial. Commies, protesters, reporters, and Diddy's devoted fans crowded the sidewalks, resulting in a strengthened presence of security to control the commotion. The trial proceeded into its third exhausting week. Ventura Cassie, Diddy's ended 4 days ago with a former lover accusing the rapist of heartbreaking testimony, mogul of coercion and physical abuse, into organized freak-off parties. Her claims were supported by witnesses, testifying that they saw Diddy in person, hit Cassie in 2009. The prosecution, intended to close and call more voices, Cassie's family and friends, to the stand. In the meanwhile, Diddy's attorneys scoldly, carefully disassembled the branding and the prosecution's video evidence. It lacks explicit timestamps or context, putting Cassie in a precarious position. Diddy is still being held, facing the threat of life in prison if found guilty. The public observes, captivated as every development takes place. Below the courtroom lights palette shine. The air was heavy with oppressive anxiety, penetrated by the sharp eyes of the jury and the quiet whispers of the throng. Cassie, 8 months pregnant, Ventura's lengthy hair flowing freely, stood in front of the jury, her hands firmly clenched to conceal their shuddering. Her face displayed the burden of fatigue, her swollen eyes, rimmed yet determined, as though facing a flood of painful recollections. She described her long and decadent entanglement with Comey's Sean Diddy. Her quiet voice, but steadfast. Every word filled with the wounds from years of living under his rule. Through choked sobbing, Cassie revealed, "I got to know when I was only 20 years old. A young girl full of dreams, thinking he would lead me to achievement. However, I quickly recognized I had lost my freedom. He was in charge, everything, even the songs I sang, the attire I wore, to the individuals I was permitted to get together. He coerced me into doing things. I hated behaviors that revealed my conscience, threatened me if I protested. Violence directed at my family or me would pay the price." Thus, discussing how she would occasionally be in the midst of her freakouts could force her to throw up, and Sean Comey's would continue to compel her to even take part in the freak-offs, even though she was really sick. To demonstrate her claims, Cassie exposed the terrifying details of the Fright-Off party's covert meeting she had been forced to go. "He insisted that I attend those occasions," she stated, her voice still trembling, not flinching. "Although I didn't want to, he told me I would have to pay a high price for disobedience." After he took hold of my wrist, his eyes as icy as iron, and growled, "You believe that your family will remain secure if you not follow me?" She hesitated, her eyes looking around the courtroom as though recalling that terrifying time. To support her testimony, she unveiled a secret captured footage obtaining snippets of the filthy freak-off gatherings and other illegal swore, she asserted. "Absurd things happened. This is a sneak peek of what I persevered," she said, her eyes silently, resolutely looking around the jury. On the big screen in the courtroom, the shadowy footage flared to life. Figures wavered in the throbbing light of a lavish space with electronic music, pulsing beneath a clamor of sounds of vague voices and laughter. The pictures were blurry, showing Only faces and details in silhouettes obscured by uncertainty. Cassie persisted. Despite its flaws, this video was evidence of the pressure, and she was manipulated. Her eyes were crimson, rimmed but firmly secured to thievery, a veiled request that they think about the suffering she had endured. Thus, you currently have the cycle of violence in which there is a violent incident. I would then presume, because that's typically, it goes like this. The offender. This is where Diddy would say, I apologize, it wasn't my intention. Oh my, the jewelry, the flowers, everything, other things. You have my undying love. This is never going to occur once more. And of the survivor, given that they are in love for the individual, endures in the connection. Cassie pushed, her voice growing louder as she described an eerie conversation. 1. Evening at a 2009 white party. During one of those events I attempted to refuse. She spoke with a lost, aloof gaze. In the mind. I said, San, I don't wish to carry out this task. It's incorrect. He gazed at me quiet for a few excruciating moments, after which he responded, You don't get to decide, Cassie. If you desire your family safe, you'll follow my instructions. When I'm still grabbed my wrist, shook my head, squeezing so tightly that I believed it would hurry up. Don't test me, he whispered. I was left with no other option. Her testimony cast Achilles' silence in the courtroom, silencing the faint noises of the audience. Cassie's hands and head were bent, shaking as though experiencing that very moment. Fear, danger of harm or shame. The Sean is the way they say it. Diddy's attorneys are equipped with razors, with keen insight, a quick counter-offensive. Richard Hayes, an attorney, rose, his voice filled with icy clarity, looking around the jury with a refined, unflinching assurance. Ventura's, the accusations are unfounded, he said, his gaze swept across the jurors using the polished guarantee of many years in the courtroom. There is no legal significance to this video. Wait, no timestamps, obvious resolution, or any recognizable background. It might show a party anyplace. How do we have proof that it wasn't manipulated? Disparage my client? He took a step toward the jury, lowering his voice but filled with gravity. Miss Ventura describes horrible discussions, but provides no actual evidence or witnesses. Proof to support her assertions. Why did she not depart earlier if these were the charges accurate? Or is this just a story that was made up for personal gain, revenge, or to make money off of Mr. Combs' notoriety? Hayes turned in Cassie's direction, his like a blade piercing the eye. Miss, you say my client threatened Ventura, your household. Do you have one SMS message, recording, or fragment of evidence to prove that? The shaved query forced Cassie to firmly press her lips, ears that tremble momentarily, as though huddled beneath the courtroom's relentless examination. He was, in fact, more restless than he had been the day before. He was making notes. He exerted himself, away from the table of defense and mostly sitting in that position. They never appeared to produce without even making eye contact with one another, after she sobbed at having loved him once, and organizing and taking part in these freak-offs. At the defendant's table, Diddy kept up a facade of calmness, but subliminal cues revealed his discomfort. Wearing a dapper black suit, he leaned with his hair trimmed neatly. Ahead, hurriedly whispering to his lawyer, holding a pen in his hand so firmly that his knuckles became white. Behind the composed exterior, he was unable to conceal his displeasure. An outburst of rage, his eyes flickered. Getting used in control of every situation, he now felt a danger that neither riches nor influence could be readily quelled. As his Cassie's testimony was attacked by a lawyer, his lips twisted into a little smile, not one of victory, but a tense effort to hide his fear. However, from the gallery, Janice, his silver-haired mother, whose hair is done up well, looked with a lot of unspoken disappointment. Her head was bent, her hands shaking, revealing a quiet deal with her son's doubts. Diddy's tall young son, Justin, observed his dad, his eyes obscured by a maze of distrust and anxiety, though the sweltering air in the courtroom grew denser. There were murmurs among the crowd, whereas the jury's eyes were sharp but cautious, as if considering every word carefully, careful attention to detail. Cassie, beneath the heavy weight of examination, looked of extreme seclusion. However, after that, when the courtroom door opened, there was a rumble of disturbance filled the room. St. Jackson, Curtis walked confidently into the courtroom, his imposing presence, his sharp eyes scanning the space with unwavering determination, dressed in a pointed, dark outfit. He arrived like a storm, cutting through the oppressive atmosphere, entering the room in a state of shocked quiet. Diddy's gaze squinted, his pulse quickening. He remembered 50 cents. Barb makes jokes on social media, but never thought his opponent will dive into this battle. Lifting her head, Janice's attitude that alternates between confusion and mistrust. 50 Cent raised his head, his voice echoing with a serene but powerful weight. "I'm present for the truth," he said, sweeping his eyes. The room, then lingering for a moment on Diddy. "Justice is not something that can be bought, bartered, and I refuse to watch as innocent people are crushed simply because someone thinks they can control everything." He declared that he owned a unique crystal-clear video that includes timestamps and accurate background supporting Cassie's video. The film revealed a lavish room with walls made of crimson velvet and the glimmer of chandeliers made of crystal. But there was a nagging sense of discomfort seen, deceived by the quivering. The guests gripped wine cups, hands. The air became more and more warped as the motions of the person took simmering in a dish. They moved with ease, across the room, not reeing, but as though carrying out a somber rite. During the electronic music's throbbing throb, a powerful authoritative voice abruptly broke through the atmosphere. "Nobody departs till I say so." Leaning forward, 50 Cent looked unflinchingly glued to the television. A faint nod crossed his face, but none of surprise, but with a silent affirmation, as though verifying something he has believed for a long time. Quiet, given his modest manner, conveyed volumes without resorting to theatrics. The courtroom. He wasn't just an observer. His purpose was to break the veil of confidentiality. The voice of a lady then appeared, wavering, soft and choked with fear. "I'd rather not stay." The noise, the whole courtroom fell silent. Cassie lowered her head, trembling her shoulders. Her hands were so squeezed that the knuckles turned white. In that brief, nobody could take their eyes off it. The truth had emerged from the shadows, with its sheer might, rather than a shout, unquestionable presence. Slam, all of a sudden. AI in the footage, the door slammed shut. Aloud, a long laugh sprang out, like though someone aimed to use authority to quell fear. However, the hilarity didn't overshadow the truth. That simply added to the chill. 50 Cent looked over at the bench, his gaze cutting edge, indicating that this video was only the first act. A larger secret hung over them, waiting to be revealed. Yes, which is a documentary on P. Did he Puff Daddy? Diddy P. Did he make a mistake? Here I am aware that you have been using social media a lot, discussing it. We succeeded. Additionally, I am the only person who has spoken up about this long before it did in reality. I've been saying this for a while. And however, nobody was, there's simply he's saying this, but why? Additionally, it's coming out in a big way. But I didn't take part either, and I didn't go too far. Every eye in the courtroom focused on 50 Cent Jackson's Curtis as he pulled a worn briefcase out of his leather notebook. The cover is tattered, allegedly owned by Kim Porter, the Sean Diddy Combs' late wife. Using a calm manner, but a look as keen as a blade, he revealed the yellowed diary. Pages quivered slightly in his grasp. Kim's trembling penmanship appeared to throb with the pain of her tortured days. His voice was deep as he read aloud and thoughtful, with every word absorbing the hearts of everyone in attendance. "I'm not sure. How much longer can I stand it? He governs everything. Who I am, and what I say. Look at my life. Although I'm afraid, for I have to keep it a secret from my kids." He hesitated, his tone, his gaze fixed on the juror scalding yet burdened by Kim's suffering. She tried to talk, but nobody paid attention. We had to hear her today. A profound. The courtroom fell silent, broken only by the crowd's shaky breaths. Diddy's mother, Janice Combs, sat in the gallery, her hands firmly clasped. She had a restless uneasiness in her gaze. As if Kim's remarks were raising questions she had wanted to bury for a long time. Kim Quincy Porter's son, his young face cast a shadow, by sadness, firmly grasped his hands with emotion shining in his eyes. As even though the spirit of his mother was resurrected through every line that is browsed. Diddy's, the lawyer jumped up and spoke sharply, outraged. These alleged proofs are completely unconfirmed. This journal might not be authentic, and Mr. Jackson obviously feels personal resentment in regard to my client. This is merely a deliberate slur, directed at Mr. Combs, unfazed, 50 Cent retorted in a hushed voice, but making a blade-like incision. The reality does not require consent from those anxious to conceal it. What he said shone like a beacon through the mist of uncertainty. Setting, the courtroom on fire. Dispersed but passionate cheers came from the gallery, an unstoppable surge of assistance. A few jurors gave subtle nods, their curious gaze growing sharper as, if one looks more closely at the disclosures 50 Cent had let loose. Cassie, positioned in the corner, sensed a change in herself. Only a few hours prior she was overcome with dread. Her testimony was shaky due to the dread that Diddy's incredibly talented legal staff would rip her words to pieces. She had shuddered during the freak-off video presentation, tormented by the idea that it could fail, that her years of pressure and dangers would be hidden underneath an avalanche of doubt. However, now that 50 Cent's surprising partnership, newly discovered, she felt a surge of strength. The immaculate video that includes Diddy's damning audio and Kim's journal is now displayed as rays piercing an extended period of darkness. She was reminded that the truth may at last be heard. She glanced at 50 Cent, appreciation gleaming in her eyes. His slight smile as he looked back was a silent promise. She had stopped fighting, by itself. At the table of the defendant, Dids, his usual poise broke down. His eyes tightened, jaw contracted. A volatile mixture. His eyes flashed with anger and dread as the entries in Kim's journal reverberated throughout the courtroom. At one point he had trusted himself, impervious, protected by his kingdom of authority and a group of expensive lawyers, as he had always been. However, this journal, in addition to the previous video, piercing the surface like daggers stronghold of his meticulously constructed reputation. He leaned forward and snarled, urgently, to have his attorney refute this right now. I do not want the jury to see that. One more dot. He clenched his fist, his scowl cutting in 50 Cent's direction, filled with unmasked animosity. For the first time, he felt the burden of secrets he believed would never be revealed, and he was aware that 50 Cent wasn't playing games. Suddenly and unexpectedly, a brief but incredibly significant, the moment comes. 50 Cent's eyes went to Kim. Porter's son Quincy sits in the front row. Quincy, with eyes that were a little sorrowful but determined, brings back a dim smile so faint that it almost slips take note, but that fleeting smile conveys a little empathy, as if there is an unspoken secret between the two, only they know. When the time comes, a few people in the courtroom, their lingering inquisitive looks. Could something more significant is hidden behind the proof? Mike Quincy in the role of Kim's son has more hints to solve. The puzzle. When the courtroom ends, 50 Cent is surrounded by reporters, asking him numerous questions concerning where the video and diary came from. With a mysterious grin, he sidesteps, providing simply, the truth always finds its way. A dot. His mysterious remarks cause a flurry in the general public. On sites such as X, the hash that provided the proof surges, provoking intense conjecture. Numerous think that only someone who is close to Kim Porter had access to her journal. Following her death, among the names Quincy whispers appearing as a captivating persona, as Kim's son with singer Alb. Quincy was raised in the Diddy's family's orbit beneath identical to the mogul's roof. If someone had the chance to see or collect proof of Diddy's alleged wrongdoing, Quincy would be the best option. His strong relationship with his mother, in addition to distinct separation from his stepfather, raises inquiries. Could Quincy be secretly planning something? Quincy had a sensitive soul at a young age, negotiating the intricacies of Diddy's family relationships. He loved his mother dearly. His emotional fulcrum was Kim. Kim, an actress and model, tried to protect their kids from the stress she endured, difficult friendship with Diddy. However, even as a youngster, Quincy was unable to ignore the fissures in their exterior. Once he captured in the living room, his mother was silently crying. Her worried eyes clouded when the name Diddy came up. On evenings when Kim sneaked out of the home and came back with a tired look, an unspoken Quincy's heart began to ache. Be strong, his mom would say, and he subsequently revealed in an uncommon interview, his voice laden with grief. He decided to quiet, not wanting to trouble her and their mixed-race family. However, that obedience comes at a high price. A mental health. His gloom deepened as he repressed inquiries on his mother's contentment. As he grew older, Quincy started to see the shadier areas of Diddy's life. Then notoriously heated freak-off gatherings, disputes, and allegations of deceptive actions made him afraid. Had progressively pulled away, going to Los Angeles and re-establishing contact with his Alb Shur, the biological father, who pushed him to take back his identity. The biggest setback occurred in 2018 when Kim's unexpected demise, ascribed to his world, was wrecked by pneumonia. 27 years old Quincy was unable to make sense of it. A lively, his mother-like woman gone so suddenly left an empty space. He had a secret fears that her passing wasn't as straightforward as stated. A sentiment strengthened when all was certain in. Public demanded a new probe. All suggested that Kim might have owned hazardous secrets. However, every effort to investigation encountered more imperceptible opposition, as though obstructed by an invisible force. Silence, helpless against the hidden fact, believed he had not adequately safeguarded his mom. The testimony of Cassie Venture against Diddy shines brightly in Quincy's dark planet, showing the way to earth the secrets that his mother told her grave. Quincy is aware that he cannot act, though, freely. Growing up in Diddy's home, he's well conscious of his stepfather's mighty strength. From his incredibly sharp law firm to his extensive network of influence, one mistake could result in, he has everything, or worse, threaten his security. Thus, he chooses discretion, looking for a dude named 50 Cent who has battled with Diddy without fear, and never retreated. Quincy understands that only with his boldness and influence, 50 Cent can reveal the proof without being quieted. Their encounter takes place within the boundaries of a Los Angeles apartment. Out of sight, Quincy shows up with a little box, discovered in Diddy's basement mansion. He had discovered the hidden accidental encounter one late evening while still residing with the family. 3 o'clock at .m, he caught a passionate glimpse of Diddy, his eyes as he carried a box to the basement. Be cautious. Fear fought curiosity, and Quincy dared not look into it. Then just after, during the process of sorting through Kim's souvenirs, did he have the guts to come back. He opened the box and found Kim's journal, its quivering penmanship documenting fear and control, in addition to AA film on a hard disk, showing a heated dispute in 2017 between Kim and Diddy. Kim's voice trembles in it, yet insists, "You cannot continue to hide this." The proof starts a fire in Quincy, making him do something. Taking care of Quincy begs 50 Cent to give him the package, to reveal the truth and stand by Cassie. He doesn't pursue notoriety or self-interest. His motivation comes from his affection for his mom and an unwavering pursuit of justice. Quincy wants Diddy to answer for his actions, not only for Cassie's wrongdoing, but for his mother's years of suffering lasted. Furthermore, he hopes the case will enthrall viewers, generating as well of the ground to reopen inquiries about Kim's passing. He thinks that if Diddy's reality is revealed, authorities may be forced by popular pressure. Must go back and examine the mystery surrounding his death of a mother. Quincy treads though cautiously. He stays out of the courtroom, avoids interviews, and keeps quiet on X, avoiding becoming Diddy's target. In the judicial setting, the transient quick look between 50 Cent and Quincy is more than just a sympathetic moment. It is a subliminal indication of a carefully thought-out plan. The prosecutor, without Quincy's name, suggests that the evidence originates from a person who is closely connected to family of Diddy. A terrifying inscription on her hard disk corresponds to the writing by hand in Kim's journal, sending chills through the crowd. There is conjecture that Quincy, carrying the sorrow of his mother's passing, discreetly provided the proof. Some rally on X behind Quincy's true hash, implying that he is playing with great stakes game, for justice, not for money. Diddy's legal team responds quickly, rejecting the box as not genuine, and claiming that 50 Cent manipulated the feelings of the jury. However, their contention fails as the drive's text message correspond with the call history of Diddy, information that was only available to insiders. Despite being gone, Quincy's presence penetrates all aspects of the situation. His silence is patience, not weakness, waiting for the day when the proof becomes indisputable. He is aware of a direct Diddy is impossible to tackle. However, with Cassie and 50 Cent, he can disturb the pillars of his stepfather's business. Below Quincy's motivations, there is a deep narrative. A son in an effort to uphold his mother's heritage, fight evil and stop others from going through what she did. He won't allow. There are still sinister mysteries hidden beneath the force of power. When the court adjourns, Did's eyes waver as though he's starting to suspect treachery in his own household. The audience outside is humming and analyzing Quincy's part. An article on X states, Quincy's deeds speak louder than words. Declare the truth. In a Los Angeles, Quincy sits quietly in his apartment, grasping a picture of Kim, his gaze determined. He is aware that he wagered all except for his mother, for fairness, and for those without a voice, threatened and persecuted. He is prepared. The case against Combs, Sean Diddy, driven by the astounding evidence from 50 Cent Jackson's Curtis, goes beyond simple legal disputes, could turn into a tale of bravery in the face of reality. The shuddering Kim Porter's diary entries and the Cassie Venture's determined look reveals that quiet, no matter how long it lasts, cannot wounds are always hidden. Out of the shadows of suffering, voices such as Cassis's have emerged, not for notoriety, but out of a strong desire to uphold morality. Their disobedience when confronted with powerful sparks a flicker of optimism that can shatter formerly believed to be invincible walls. This story prompts contemplation about the strength of empathy and honesty. It provides a moving reminder that, in under the most oppressive conditions, one genuine moment such as the shared look of those who are brave enough to stand, can light up the way to fairness.